You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
It's like we're like trying to get away from each other. Oh, B.O. Just kidding. Comic book time. You are here on the Experience, and this is Minute to Skim It. Long time review show. We're so happy about the new comics this week, and you guys should be too. Hey, Josh. This is a fully interactive show, so if you have any questions, you can totally pop them up in the chat. If I talk to somebody and you're like, I don't know who she's talking to, it's because they're watching from another platform because we're multi-platform for the show. So if you have friends that are like, I only do things on Twitter or Twitch or Insta or whatever, most of those places that we're going, but primarily YouTube and Facebook. And this is your reminder. You should absolutely, if you're watching from the Facebooks, ring the bell because that will actually get you notifications for every time we go live. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe because there's all kinds of things we're trying to get going over there for you guys. Extra special things for people that are regular subscribers, so you get information before everybody else because you're our supporters. We appreciate y'all very much. Now for the reviews. All right, I'm gonna probably go do a lot more than Liam. By the way, this is Liam.
Hello.
So you can't tell from the giant Liam is down there.
Yes.
But I got to read more books because Liam was working. So, all right. Hello, cool gamer. All right, I'm gonna do this one because it's awesome. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Eric Powell and his amazing line of books. Rob Zip. By the way, Rob Zip has awesome shows that he also does on the YouTube, so you should subscribe to that channel as well. You can drop it in the comments if you want to, Rob. You have permission. So Eric Powell is mostly known for his book, Lagoon, but recently he's been doing other really cool books. My other favorite is Hillbilly. So good. Non-Wolf does not appear in this one, but I'm hoping in future Albatross Exploding Funnybooks that we'll have some of those. But La Diabla and Lester of the Lesser Gods is also part of this book. So think of a really awesome compilation book where it has little stories from a lot of those different characters, and they're not from other things. So they're not previously printed things at all. The La Diabla, for example, only thing you need to know about that character is that she really kind of lives for protecting kids. Mm-hmm. So she'll show up whenever there's like any injustices happening with kiddos. Hillbilly's storylines always are kind of like he really does live in the woods, and what's the best way to describe him? And like has confrontation with witches and stuff. Lester of the Lesser Gods. Imagine if you had a character like Thor, but he really is kind of like doesn't really have it all going on for him. And it's very awkward and is kind of like, I don't know, the leftover stepchild kind of kiddo. I don't know how to explain him. It's just like is ridiculous.
Like the redheaded stepchild that's just trying to stand out.
I'm not gonna say, it's like sounds weird because I don't want to say anything bad about stepkids because stepkids are awesome. But in this case, he's kind of like one of those super awkward ones that's ridiculous. So this one's got those stories, but then the one that I actually like the most is like, I think it's a one-page one at the very beginning of the book that is literally about a killer toilet.
I'm so sad that I didn't get to read it because I heard about it and I was like, it's probably a compilation of stuff that I don't know.
It turns out it helps a little bit to know what I just told you, but now you know those things, so you really have all you need to know. You really can jump into this.
Okay.
Kind of think of this as like, hey man, I don't know if I would like any of Errol Powell's works. You can buy this one 48-page giant book for $6 and then try them out, and then you might say to yourself, man, the Goon is my favorite thing. So highly recommend.
I definitely need to check that out.
And then I didn't realize until it was this many days old that the What If Miles Morales series, which has been going on, intends to round all of those characters up together, which is crazy cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because Miles Morales, the what ifs have been, what if Miles Morales has become, I think it's Captain America, Hulk, I can't remember the third one is, and this one's Thor. And so it basically plays out his character if Miles Morales was the character. Wow. This one's Thor, so in this case, they try to marry the stories really well because his story is really, multiverse of Milesness.
Yeah.
This one kind of like focuses in on like the, they don't have Loki be his brother as Thor. They have him instead be his dad's brother, just like because his uncle is the Prowler in, like, spoiler alert, in the verse. So
that makes sense.
So they pull that into here. It's kind of cool. So if you are like urban kind of things, like the first 2 pages, maybe 3 pages, are actually written as if they might be a rap. So they rhyme, which is kind of cool. They use a lot of Urban Dictionary terms and make him very Miles for this one. The other ones haven't really been that way. This one like brings it really in, and it's really cool. It's really, the storyline is kind of around his dad's, can't remember what they call the celebration, but Miles gets fooled by his uncle Loki into going somewhere and getting a specific thing in order to give it to his dad, which is going to go backwards because his uncle's Loki in this situation. So
yeah,
and it's awesome. It has all the same bright coloration and stuff that you love from the Into the Spider-Verse books. So, and then when you get toward the end of the book, you get that realization in your head, like, wait a minute, these are not independently being told stories. They intend for them to go together. So you might have to go and hunt back those 1, 2, and 3, which have the other parts of the stories if you don't have them yet, or borrow them from a good friend.
I actually almost grabbed that because I've been interested in like the storylines that they've been doing with the What If series with Miles Morales, and I love Miles Morales. When I first saw the movie, I was like, I need to read these books. And now I'm kind of sad that I haven't read the other What Ifs. I'm really disappointed now.
There's always the trade or friends.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, you want to hit one?
Yes. Actually, I want to start with Endangered because it kind of surprised me. So what I thought initially when I heard about like the basic plot line is that the world already was in post-apocalypse. No, the apocalypse starts at the very beginning of the book. Like literally the second page. like there's, I think maybe like it is literally the second page, and like the like 5th panel is just, okay, here we are. It's
do you
really
like
good.
that though? Do you prefer books where it is post-apocalyptic, so you don't really get to see the apocalypse and it's already happened, or do you want to see that part happen?
It depends on the type of dystopia, I guess. Like it depends on the type of apocalypse that happens. Like this, it's a really good apocalypse. Like it's on the cover. Like the world starts taking it back. And like I don't know. It generally just depends because like I grew up watching Walking Dead. Like I remember when it came on TV, and I liked the initial like throw-in of like Rick's being in the apocalypse. Here we are, and then gradually giving backstory, or like situations like this, I like a very sudden background of just like, here we are. This is the apocalypse. This is the basis of where we are now, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And like, it is, this storyline is definitely the embodiment of human greed.
No.
It is. Like,
yes, Jay, it does say endangered. Sorry, sometimes we don't type.
It's fine. I'll check after the show.
It's close enough. If you walk in and you say, I'm looking for the new book Endanger, people will be able to figure it out.
But it's like, it's really good. Like, it takes place in the future, but not like a super distant future. It starts in 2085, I think. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Like, because there's already like a technical, like it already sets up the like apocalypse storyline, like the first page, and just like we rounded up all these smart people and now we're in space. It's perfect. Like it's very sudden, like 3 panels in, it's just like, what? Like the first panel is a kid setting an ant on fire with a magnifying glass. Oh, but like it's just good.
I feel like there was another book recently that started the same way. Now I'm gonna have to think about it. At least 2 weeks ago. I didn't review last week, so it's definitely 2 weeks ago.
That's been a pretty common storyline lately of just like apocalypse. Here we are, and this is the starting of why it is. Like I've been loving that storyline. It gives a little bit, like a teeny tiny bit of backstory, like enough that it gets you like understanding of like what happened instead of drawing it on for like 3 or 4 volumes and then you not knowing what's going on.
Maybe that's like the shorthand that any even alien could understand. That like we deserve what we're getting because we're mean to creatures.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what happens. Like, the same ant that the kid was torturing is now going to be the main, like, initial villain of the next volume, I'm pretty sure. Which is nice. Like, I love that so much. But, yeah.
Yeah, right. Every once in a while, I jump back into a series that I haven't been able to read for a while. Because kind of we're more focused in Review Guys on the brand new comics, the number ones. So if there's room for not number ones, you really can kind of see into our personalities as reviewers what we love. Because if it's something that we're picking up and reading at 20 or 4 or whatever, you know that it's with purpose. We're not just like randomly picking things out of the pile.
Oh yeah,
we really are reading things that we like. And in this case, I had felt like I kind of had lost touch with what was going on in the Iron Man universe, which kind of has had a long history of a few years ago, Tony Stark died. And I don't know if a lot of people glommed onto that fact, and he was just an AI for a while.
I didn't know.
And then they've found a way to make him a genetic construct that he's now part of. So now he's really back and being Iron Man at this point. And he's actually, this book is more about his kind of like romance, I would guess you'd say, with a character who was previously married to somebody else in the Marvel universe. That was really, really bad for her. She was married to the son of Satan. So, you know.
Oh, you know, yeah.
She has PTSD. So this is really a little bit about them interacting with each other in the book, and there's just some other things that are going on, which is kind of like the meat of it. But if you are interested in Tony's love life, this is very sweet. No, that's my thoughts.
How dare you bring up that name in this house?
Okay, so you get through like the 20th reboot of a comic book series, and you kind of say, it is Son of Satan. Oh, I said Son of Satan, it's Cyclops, yeah. No, it's a different guy. That you think to yourself, okay, well, I'm kind of over like the relaunch or the restart. Like just have us a long series and just like mark it 25 and say new story arc on the front cover. I'm okay. You don't have to go to number 1. But I think for Marvel right now, since they have had kind of like big event happen, and then they definitely want to have both Sam as Captain America carrying the mantle and responsibility of that position, and Captain America Steve Rogers both have storylines that make sense and have weight in the universe. So 2 weeks ago, I think, we started out with the Captain America line that is Sam's story. It was really good. And then this one is the beginning of the separate story for Steve. And this is Sentinel of Liberty. So let's see. How detailed can I get with his character? Let me give myself a... Make sure I'm not crossing it over into something else I read. That happens when you read a lot of books all at once.
With the amount of indies that I read, it happens frequently.
Yeah. Okay, so pretty much what you have here is a restart of him living his life.
Oh.
And in this case, he's going back to his roots. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but it looks like he never told anybody where he came up, like where he grew up as a kid.
Oh, wow.
And, he was a poor kid in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So he, in this book, decides to go back and go live in his home he was brought up in, which is like just an apartment in Brooklyn. Yeah. So kind of like brings him back to his roots. I think that's a really big important thing for them to do for the books, because it allows you to know what they're saying. They're going to take him back to the roots of this character and let him do what he does right. And in this case, it does bring him back together with some characters that he's been associated with before, which is Bucky.
Of course.
They're
childhood friends. I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yep. And it sets him on a path that's really, you should read it. There's a lot that I can't say about it because it'll like ruin all the fun for you. But and the art is so beautiful inside. Like this is one step in between comic book style and like painted style.
Oh, I love
this is a Minute to Skim It show where we do all our reviews. Seat. Next hour is going to be the other one. I know what you're hunting for.
That is something that I do appreciate in like mainstream like publishers now of like DC and Marvel, is giving a bit more background on those characters, because like I didn't grow up with the mainstream comic scene. I didn't grow up with mainstream comics in general, and like just being thrown in of just like Steve Rogers, he was a science experiment, here we are, and I'm like, I don't know who he is. I don't know anything about him. I just know that he was in the military and he was just a lab rat, and that's all I know. And like having that storyline, I need to pick that up now, because like I've always wanted to get into Captain America, but I just didn't understand how he grew up. Like that's actually really cool. I like that.
I think we're gonna do the slow roll of like giving you some more information, because he's kind of a complex character.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Hey, I see Kenneth is here also. Hello.
I don't know where I want to go next. Well, we both can calculate.
We'll do a co-review.
Yeah. I thought I loved it so much. He apparently has synesthesia, which is like something that nobody really talks about when it comes to medical conditions. Like I feel like it needs to be talked about a bit more. Mm-hmm. Like it does help people in their daily lives to like understand things a bit better. Like there's some people who have synesthesia when it comes to like reading, and it helps them understand like context clues a bit better, or understand like what's truly going on in a story. Like for him, like it's numbers, where the numbers are colored, which makes him better at math. And like I thoroughly enjoy that. Like I feel like it needs to be worked with a bit more.
Is that also the term that they use for, I mean, I know only one other person, like this is Mary Lou Renner, who actually has the ability to recall dates and everything that she experienced in that date. It's all categorized in her brain, so she can just look it up. So you ask her where she was and what she ate and who was wearing what on any date, she'll pull it up. And that's what he's got too. He can really, with uncanny ability to do this.
Like there's somebody that I follow on TikTok who has synesthesia, and they can taste words. And they have this whole series of just like people like commenting different words to like see what they taste like. And it's a very like synesthesia takes different forms, and it's interesting seeing like the different forms. Like the numbers one, I've only heard of like a handful of times, but like the way that they portrayed it was like the best way that I've ever seen it, which is very interesting, because like a lot of people don't talk about the color based like synesthesia, because like a lot of people just talk about the taste or like the sound or like how they view it. They don't talk about like the color based ones where they see it in different like see different words in different colors and see different numbers in different colors. Like a lot of people don't talk about that version of synesthesia, and it's a shame because it does affect people's ways that they perceive color. And a lot of times, and if they're colorblind, they can't really process what they're seeing. It's just gray. It's very strange. I don't know. I'm very excited to see the rest of the series. So it's very
pitch for this book, other than having those kind of cool things in it, is it's already been picked up and it's in development. So you're going into a book that you know already you're probably going to see on a screen somewhere. But the main character, this is a huge book for people that are fans of The Accountant, which was a killer book or killer movie. If you've never seen The Accountant, you have to go and rent it. Or just stream it. See, that's my oldness coming out. You don't have to rent anything anymore. But the main character is the accountant or bookkeeper for one of 2 giant mafia organizations. The one he's part of is called the Keys.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally have tattoos of keys on their body. The more keys they have tattooed on their body, the higher they are in rank. And he has no ability to lie. And so what that means is it's easy for his bosses to come in the room and say, have you stolen anything from us today? And he'll say, absolutely not. And they know it's true. So there's those good things. But the thing is that he wants to fall in love with somebody and have a normal life. And that he knows that he can't do this because that love is going to eventually ask him what he does for real life. And he's going to have to say, and that will put them in danger. So the whole start of this book is him asking really, the head of the organization, can you please be, released from his position? And just know that he as an accountant means also he's very good at calculating other things, like what he needs to do to be able to kill people. So he's super dangerous. So just like the accountant is, you don't want to go head to head with him because he's already figured out all the odds.
And like relating back to like the dating thing, at the very end they talk, because they briefly acknowledge like the fact that he's on dating apps, like very briefly acknowledge it. And they put in like some of the conversations and like gives a bit of like a transparency between of why he really can't have, like, the reason why he has an issue dating, because he's so honest and like it turns girls away. And it was very interesting. Like one of the longest conversations that he had in that dating app, turns out that she was a bit bonkers. And he personally ended the chat, and it was very interesting. And like it shows like how long he had these conversations, and like if it was like 2 messages or if it was like 3. And it was just, I don't know. It was nice to see that transparency. You don't really see that when they acknowledge like dating apps in a book. Like it's cool actually. Like I loved that like small teeny like detail aspect. I just love the small things in this kinds of books.
This one's from Aftershock, which had 2 releases last week that you should go hunt down.
Oh, yeah.
They're also very good. They're both space-based ones from last week. Aftershock has done a really good job of making sure that everything they put out is really good, and they're not putting out a lot of filler content stuff. So,
and that's what I appreciate about Aftershock, honestly. Yeah.
And they also, if you were a hunter of rare things, they put out what's called an ambassador exclusive, which goes to stores that have an ambassador that's near them. They get 2 copies of it when their ambassador comes visit them and talks to them about how they can sell Aftershock books better. So if you have an Aftershock ambassador store, they'll have 2 of these things. And this one for this book is remarkably vigorous in the aftermarket, we'll say. Okay, Undiscovered Country, Destiny Man. This is that cool book that Snyder and Charles Soule started, I feel like 3 years ago, maybe more. I can remember when they pitched the series itself. They said essentially that they had long meetings with the CIA to ask them whether the concept of the book is something that could happen and what it would look like. So in this case, it was America essentially shutting itself off with giant walls all around its borders, like, taller than anything could get over. Yeah. And shutting itself off from all the rest of the world. And this has been going on for generations. So, and no one has been inside America for a very long time. And the CIA, which can't really, don't tell anyone I told you this, said they absolutely have all those kinds of plans in place for if they ever need them. So,
oh, that's so cool.
Crazy, right? So, but this book ended up being way more fantasy based than I had originally thought it was going to be. So what has been happening inside of America is we've been experimenting a lot with genetic stuff, and it's all been driven by this, I'll just call it an AI because it's the best way I could think of calling it. That's been kind of like sussing out what is the best chances for humanity to survive in some form or fashion, and is like, kind of pre-seen things that might happen. So they've been working on genetic stuff. So when they first made in to the other side of the wall, because they need to go there because there's a plague that's happening and they want to have answers for how to fix it. And it looks like America might have it because they reach out for the first time in forever of silence. This one deals with a very specific character who is one of the people that has experienced this genetic change. And so you get a very unique look at what was happening during those years, who was responsible for them, how it's affected this guy, because he's one of the characters, is the main character in the regular story. And this one's just a single shot. So you can kind of buy this one and see if it's your jam at all. Because some of the genetic manipulations they've made on the other side of the wall, or like they have like, sharks that can, dig under the dirt and come up on land and attack you. And they have giant crabs that they ride. And there's just a bunch of crazy stuff.
That is
There's fish people,
I almost did actually. That was on my list to read, but then the description that I read of it was like, I need to read Undiscovered Country before I actually read that one, and now I'm kind of sad that I didn't
always
read
jump
it.
in. There's a bunch of trades for that, but they're pretty far into the series, so
Oh yeah,
I highly recommend the trades for those series.
Mm-hmm.
All right, full disclosure, I read some DC this week because Liam did not pick up any.
I don't read mainstream.
Sharks that dig underground? No, you don't want some shark that's just going to jump up.
Land sharks, quite literally.
Land sharks. So I have not been reading The Shadow War. The only thing I know about it is it's very much surrounded by the Deathstroke storyline. And this is a John Boy cover, which is awesome. But this is the Omega, so kind of just like Marvel does with theirs. They've like Omega's been wrapping up the series, but along with the wrap up here, it actually has something big and epic happen on the last few pages, which feels like it's setting up another big arc for them. So for people that are fans of him and all the characters that are in his, his ring, you should definitely pick this up. I will say that the books that are tied into this, there's some like lead-in stories that happen in Deathstroke Incorporated. The number 6, 7, and 8 of that series are impossible to get, and I don't know that people can order them. So you might wait for a trade, or if you have friends to borrow from again. But I wouldn't miss this one. You can get this one and read it, and have it be your inspiration for trying to go hunt down the rest of the stuff.
I definitely. That's like somebody called yesterday asking for Deathstroke 7 and 9.
Everyone wants 7 and 9.
Yeah, and I was flipping through, and I was like, we don't have anything.
5 is our oldest one right now. Right?
Yeah, that's why I told him. 7 Sons actually. So when I first started reading this, I thought it was going to be very much like cult, and that was like the esque that I was getting from it was very obviously like cult manner, which I love cults. Like that's my jam. That's a very weird.
I've never heard that before.
So I have when I first heard about Waco, about the Waco siege, I was like, cults exist, and then I went hard into research, and that's the level of what I was getting. And when I found out about the premise of Far Cry 5, and I was like, okay, and this will give me the same vibes of Far Cry 5. And I still can't tell if it was a cult, if it's just centralized into this one area, if it's everywhere in the US. I couldn't tell, and that's fine. I genuinely appreciate that. And the whole premise of the storyline, I was immediately hooked. The moment that I heard about it, I was like, I'm in love. I love this so much. I am very, very excited to see more of this series, because it just keeps you on your toes. You don't know if this is really a thing, if there is actually a second coming of Christ. You don't know. It just keeps you coming. And I really want to see the next volume just to see where it's gonna go, because the ending doesn't even give you any satisfaction. It just makes you want to read the next volume. What was your take on it then?
Okay, so there's a couple of things that it has this in its win category.
Mm-hmm.
One is the first time that Jay Lee has an independently created book since Hellshock, which was the 1990s era series, which I am obsessed with. So it's all him, all his art. So that's a triple win.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's cool about this series is that I don't mind at all. I'm a Sunday school teacher. I don't mind at all books that are hardcore looking at or challenging religious things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important for us to always be moving forward and thinking about what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, I like that they're just like off center, right? So it although it does talk about some virgin births and second coming of Christ, it is very clear very early on that whatever cult thing is happening really is barely anything to do with Christian religion, and a lot with people that have shown up and had kind of like there at some point in the book is revealed that there is a good fellow that has written a new very important book, which is what all of these people are following their faith on now, which is very outside the biblical thing. It's his own thing. So in it you think that you're headed somewhere in the book, and only when you get to the very end of the book do you realize that they've been kind of like left fielding you the whole time. Like these characters are the ones you should be paying attention to, or what are the important ones. And
no, it's not.
It's totally not.
Exactly. That's why I loved it so much, and like its take on like the extremism that Mormon could get to. At some point, like the next 20 or 30 years, it was really interesting to like see that take on it. And like I grew up, I mean, you know, my past religion, I grew up Christian, and like I grew up with that side of religion, not extremism, but like I grew up with it, and seeing that take on it was amazing. I was like, oh, okay, I see you, I get it, okay.
This is my personal challenge to everybody. Like, even if something feels like it's against maybe something that you truly deeply believe, just like read it with the idea that you're like, I want to just see what someone's creativity has done with those things, and not assess any like yuckiness to it. Just enjoy it for what it is, good art and all those kinds of things.
And the art in it is gorgeous. Oh my gosh.
It all is entirely Jaylee, the whole thing, top to bottom. So let's see. Yeah, Jaylee, all art. You'll be able to tell for sure. All right, and another like self-realization here. I know I needed to read this because Dark Crisis is the next big event that they're doing. This leads directly out of the Justice League 75, in which all of the Justice League died. If you don't know this by now, I am so sorry that I did not do spoiler alert, but man, that has been like 2 months from now. So Justice League, we're talking about the original members are all dead or appear to be dead. They're not saying anything otherwise. And now all the people that are in part of this dark crisis that's going on are the younger members that we've been having kind of like raised up. Like now you've got Superman's son, John, who has been the actual Superman for a while, that he's, stepping into the right thing. So this has got a bunch of other characters that are kind of interspersed in the storyline, which I feel like if I was better versed in the DC universe, it would be more impactful for me. I did not get lost in this storyline, so you certainly can read it without knowing anything at all. But it does definitely feel like if you had more background, it would be better.
Yeah. Like I'm not a huge I've been wanting to get into Justice League, like the new Justice League series, and after seeing the cover of the first Justice League that I saw that was a new release, I was like, okay. And then when I was told that the regular, like the base Justice League that we know is dead, I was like, what? I was like, okay then.
But don't worry, it looks like those characters are continuing in their own series just fine. Like they've ignored what's going on in the base series. Okay. This is awesome. So DC versus vampires has been going on for a while. I think they're like a 6-issue arc or 12-issue arc or something. Yeah. And then a couple weeks ago, they had one called DC versus vampires, and it was not hunters. It was something else. Killers, I think. And this one is hunters. So in this one, it focuses in on this Robin character. And it looks like he's trying to prove himself. He is an actual vampire. And he looks like he's trying to prove himself to whoever the master of vampires is, which you don't actually get to see until you're further along in the book, which you may already know if you've been reading the main series. I don't know because I have not. But again, it's another book that you don't really have to know those things. This is a standalone, even though it says #1. I think it's a one shot. And it's written by Matt Rosenberg, so it's written well. He's really, really good at, give him 24 pages and he'll get you there. He'll get you all the stuff that you need. So perfect if you like vampires and double crosses, power struggles. all those kinds of things.
From what I remember of Volume 5 of DC vs. Vampires, he has turned into basically like the right-hand man of the head of the vampires.
That's the way it seems.
Yeah, that's what I gathered at least, because I haven't read any of the series. But like the one issue that I have read, I'm like, okay, I see you, I get you.
It's been really popular. It's a book that sells really well off the rack for us.
Oh yeah, like that's been one of those series that I've been pushing hard if people do actively pursue vampires. Like that's been one of my like hard recommendations. Well then let's get into this. It's called Do a Powerbomb.
Do a Powerbomb.
So a little bit of behind the scenes things about me. I have been brought into the world of wrestling hard. My roommate took me to my first wrestling show a couple weeks ago.
Adrian's got you now.
Absolutely. Shanice threatened to bring me into the wrestling scene, and then Adrian, my roommate, brought me to my first show, and I've never been more happy in my entire life than seeing that show. I grew up with Fozzy, aka Chris Jericho. I was raised with his band. Like that has been like that was our road trip like music when I was growing up. And you just need a little bit, like a teeny tiny bit of background to understand this book when it comes to wrestling. But you don't need to know much, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't grow up with wrestling. Like I was calling it WWF until I was like 17 until somebody corrected me. You didn't know I'm 24.
Oh my gosh. Now I know your age.
Oh my god, it's nuts. But no, like it's really good. Like there's a really good like necromancy twist into it. Like it's really, really good. I strongly recommend it, even if you don't know anything about wrestling. Like, you know, like a couple of things, like that's all you really need. Like if like the last thing that you remember of wrestling is WWF in like the mid-90s, that is really all you need.
Weirdly, that is the last thing I remember.
Yeah, like it's really good. Like like there's no like true like real other than Powerbomb. Like there's no actual like real moves like mentioned in this. But like I just
what's the through storyline? It's not just people, you know, jumping off the top rope at each other, is it?
Kind of. That's like how the half of it is. So it starts off with so the daughter who's the main character of this book, her mom unfortunately died during a championship match. She was power bombed off the top ring and her neck snapped. That's what's implied.
No.
Yeah. And
it's true. I take a little nap with my eyes open. Sorry, my Aunt Sue.
But like it's and then the daughter like takes over like her mom's like name and like all that, and then there's this dude who I guess is like a necromancer, I don't know, who's like kind of stalking her mom's career, and like it's good. I like if I say any more, it's gonna spoil the book. That's the only problem. But like you can tell that her dad has been very, very distant.
Absolutely. WWF forever.
I can't say much. I'm in AEW. But like if you follow like the AEW or All Elite Wrestling, like I guess like storyline essentially, like the basics like of the like recent like characters that have been like winning the championships, there's honestly like a lot of influence from AEW in this. And I love it. I was very excited whenever I first heard about it. I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna pick up the rest of the series because it's very interesting.
Okay. What do I got? Okay. So this might not be at every LCS out there, so don't freak out and don't go yell at yours. This is 7 Years in Darkness. This is by Jojo Smolke. It is a self-published book, although you've seen a lot of his work through Scout. He is part of Black Caravan and has done a bunch of other really awesome things, like We Kill Spiders, or We Don't Kill Spiders, sorry. We Don't Kill Spiders. My bad. 7 Years in Darkness is kind of origin story for, it looks like, at least one character. So this is one of those awesome books that starts at the end and gets you back to the beginning, the roundabout way, right? And it is about a character who, as a young person, is being gathered into what is amounts to being a black magic. We're going to call it a school because I think that's the way it's described. It looks like the school itself has not existed for a long time. I don't know what was why it has gone underground and not been happening, but mysterious character, who is that character on the front, shows up and says that there are 72 families that by bloodline, when called, are required to produce one person to send to the school, knowing that it's very unlikely that their family member is going to successfully complete school. And by that, I think they mean die. So this is from the point of view of one person. It is really, really good, amazing art. If you want to support something that's outside the traditional release model, 7 Years in Darkness is a really good one to do.
I actually didn't hear about that at all. Like anything that I have been watching, any of my new release videos that I've been watching, not a single person has mentioned that. That's part of the reason why I didn't pick it up, because I didn't know about it existing, and now I really want to start it because I grew up with Harry Potter. So yeah.
You'll like it. Jay Burns says, I don't kill spiders, my wife does, while I stand on the couch yelling, there it is!
I could see that. I could absolutely see Jenna killing spiders for you. That sounds really mean, but it's true.
I am one of those weird people that tries to pick up spiders and take them outside.
That's me. The house that I was previously living at, they wanted to kill the bees, and I'm like, bees are endangered. There's a reason why we have a lot of foods that we have right now for bees.
Yeah. If you ever find a bee colony in your house, just call up. There's bee removal services that will just kind of smoke them and then take them out of there and then repopulate them somewhere else.
There is a bee rescue that I found on TikTok that's called Texas Bee Rescue, or Texas Beehive Rescue. And it's a husband and wife that run it, and they have their own colony. They sell their own honey, because not only honeybees produce honey, which a lot of people don't know. Honeybees are the only ones that produce honey that we can eat.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But most people use bumblebees to use bee wax, because we just can't eat their honey. So yes, save the bees, please.
Yeah. White, literally the thing that stands between us and starvation.
Exactly. Just save the bees. Anyways, I
eat wall honey.
Yeah.
Just lick your wall.
I mean, you can. So I read Bill and Ted Roll the Dice, because I grew up with Bill and Ted. If it wasn't for Bill and Ted, I also wouldn't know about Wayne's World and that whole niche genre. I do recommend for this, if you haven't read Bogus Journey, they do make massive hints, or not read, watched. If you haven't watched Bogus Journey, you really need to get a bit of context for this book. But it is legitimately just because it takes place immediately after Bogus Journey. They come back to after Bogus Journey, and that it's been out for over 30 years. It's not even a spoiler anymore. It's just a shame if you haven't watched it. But it takes place in hell. And they actively make fun of this version of Satan's name, actively. It is just very entertaining. It is absolutely, there's a very few storylines that I enjoy that comes with the D&D, and they openly acknowledge D&D into this. Then they
it's the dice rolling,
I guess. Well, because the only way that they can leave hell is to finish the campaign that they have started with Satan.
So it's like Jumanji.
Basically, yeah. Well, because Bill starts talking smack to Satan himself.
I think you're right, Jay.
Yeah.
Now I feel ancient. Thanks.
Yeah. But it's honestly really good, and then there's a little bit that takes place in to the future section of. Is it Bogus Journey that takes place in part of the future? Or is that the initial? I can't remember.
Some of the future.
Something. But it does acknowledge the fact that they have kids in the future. And that's the end of that storyline, I guess. But it's honestly if you just know a teeny tiny bit, because I haven't read I haven't watched Face the Music, unfortunately. But like the beginning storyline does acknowledge Face the Music, the new story or the new movie that just came out. But yeah, it's good if you just love Bill and Ted. That is all I can say.
And just so you know, it is not by who has traditionally done the Bill and Ted books. This one is by Opus, which recently released the Frank Frazetta Death Dealer books, like the last couple of months. So
I did not know that.
So if you're looking for it on the rack and your LCS puts it, with in alphabetical order, just know that you're going to need to know that part. And I know there's another book up there, but that's not really for this one. I wanted to show you guys other stuff that's possibly going to be in your LCS that is graphic novels are coming out.
So cool.
DC makes these really awesome portfolios. This one's the DC Pride one, which
is it art?
Yeah, so the cool thing about these is that, and I'd say I can't open this up, but all the art that I'm about to show you is on the back, so you can see that anytime. Is that these are removable posters. So you just whoosh them out of the book, and then you can frame it.
Oh, Adrian will lose his mind with that.
So you just find yourself some thirsty pictures and you take those out, and they're really affordable. It's like $25, and it's 20 images, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's 20 images for $25, which I don't know how in the world you could get it printed for that price, but yeah, it's really awesome.
Oh, I really need to pick that up.
Also releasing is this really awesome Miles Morales, what I call digest size book. This one it collects the whole 2016 storyline that was written by Michael Bendis. There's a lot of young folks that are into Miles Morales, and sometimes the big trade paperbacks are just kind of intimidating for them. And this one is only $14, which puts it down in a more affordable range for them. So, and they make them for just about everything under the sun. So
I appreciate that, though. Like, I've been loving the inclusivity of Marvel lately, of just acknowledging the fact that there are going to be some heroes that are not white for once. It's very interesting.
Many. Oh, sorry. This one's the other style is cherry, I think. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna dig it out because it's more use these. All right, we've been waiting for these for a while. These are actually Penguin Random House classics that they've made. They are really the very best of coffee table books that you can get. So they made one for Captain America. And just so you have an idea of what era Captain America is in here, it says Jack Kirby, Joe Simon, Stanley Steranko, and John Romita Sr.
So the old school, original. Oh, I love that.
So instead of going and trying to find the originals, you can get these early books just like this, which are really nicely bound. They make one for Amazing Spider-Man, and they made one for Black Panther. So these three are the ones that are releasing this week.
Those are beautiful.
Highly recommend picking this up. And don't miss it. This is one of those things that's highly likely to be missed, okay? This is called The Passageway. If you've heard people talking about the mythos storyline or arc, that's what this is. So this is called the Bone Orchard mythos. So the way this universe works is not like normal traditional comic books where it has comic books that they put together and compile and put into one book. They only appear in original graphic novel form, but they're all going to tie together. This one's called The Passageway, and it is by Jeff Lemire, so it's epic storytelling all put together, and art by Andrea Sorrentino, who has amazing hand and art style. You'll know his art covers are easy to tell. It's something you might miss, but is, by my reckoning, going to be one of those books that people are going to be clamoring for when you get to your LCS.
She's having to throw a box at my feet.
Yep.
It's fine. I do not mind.
Oh. Nope, that's not me.
Oh,
that's our restock of something. It's killing the children. I'm going to point this one out one more time for everybody. It is like Trippy Aerobic Theater without the cool video. Just so people don't miss their opportunity to pick this up, Source Point put this book out earlier this month. It is called 5 Bullets, 6 Men. If you like encapsulated mysteries, this is the book for you. It is just a standalone single book. It really does talk about a room that has 6 men in it and 5 bullets, and you have 5 of the people in the room end up dead, and it kind of like goes back and tells the storyline of each of those individual people and why they should die. And then there's a big twist at the end, which gives you the who was the person who done it in the room. So I can't recommend it more highly. You know that if I bought like another whole section of them to make sure we have them for the store forever, then that's fine. Also, I wanted to point out that Miss Marvel had a killer first episode.
Adrian and I watched it, and I was freaking out the entire time. It's so good.
If you liked the kind of like cutting edge storytelling that was into the Spider-Verse, but not necessarily like the super, cartoony, whatever. And you wanted to add those two things together with just regular storytelling, real, what's it called? Live action. Sorry, with live action. That's what Miss Marvel ended up being. And they did such a perfect job of actually telling the story the way it is. The only thing that they've changed, I think, is a little bit how her power looks. Who cares, right? So there are a bunch of these digest books you can still run out and find while they are existing. They're like just $13 digest things. Or if you're super lucky, you can still go out and score volume 1 of Miss Marvel No Normal, which is the run by G. Willow Wilson, which is what they've mentioned that it's based on. It also includes Marvel Now Point 1, which I've told you guys a million times. Point 1 is an important book because it ties into just about everything that's important that's coming out now. And they also make a hardcover for that book. If you're hunting for something that can sit on your book shelf and look really cool, can you throw me that pile over there?
Yes. It is heavy.
Real quick through the other stuff that's releasing. An all ages book called Baby Bear's Bakery. This might not be in every store, but I've had to get it for ours. House of Slaughter, Volume 1 is out.
Ooh,
that ties into something that's killing the children. Chicken Devil, Volume 1. An awesome, gory story coming out of Aftershock. Another chance for you guys to get a complete collection of The Tick.
So I need to watch that.
From Antarctic Press, Vampire Ninja Ono, also a horror comics title. For people that are also fans of Jeff Lemire, you should be following along with Black Hammer Universe. They finally put out the volume 6 of that. I love things that are based on real life. So this is the Lincoln Brigade. It's a newsreel edition from Caliber Comics, also releasing tomorrow. I'm just like jumping the gun in my brain. One of my favorite series is Cat Poop 1, Volume 3. It retells the story of Vietnam, but changes all of the real people into animals to kind of soften the blow, even though all the violence is still there.
I have been appreciating that lately. It makes it a bit less, intense.
This is a Brian Level and Ryan Ferrier book called Silk Hills. I'm going to read you. This is a cool Oni Press book, so I'm going to read this real fast. It says, when Beth Wills comes to Silk Hills, a quirky Appalachian town that's seen better days since the mines were abandoned, she expected a bit of culture shock, but not like this. Beth is someone who has talent for finding people who don't want to be found, and when she's called to Silk Hills by a local titan of industry, she can tell that something's not right. Little does she know the town may have once been booming, but the only reason people tend to go through town anymore is to buy Mothman merchandise. Before long, Beth finds out just how wrong things can get in the woods. As her search for a missing youth finds her running afoul of local underworld, 2 friendly creepers, a very sinister deer, and a drug the locals call moth dust. Who is Hallway Man? Are you ready? It's an awesome hardcover book coming out of Pony Press. There's also an H.P. Lovecraft tie-in that comes out tomorrow, Arthur German. And the next volume of Canto. This one's called Lionhearted. It's the volume 3 trade paperback that comes out. And then just one more pouch on the far side over there.
This way?
Oh, no, sorry, the far side.
I was about to be like, because one of these is the same thing as that image that we already have up on board.
Yep, that's more of those. This is what I wanted to show everybody. This one is there's an AMC Plus series. This is The Treasure of the Black Swan. This is a Fantagraphics books that also releases tomorrow. I know it's a lot, but you can like be smart about how you choose what you're gonna get tomorrow. Definitely go and support your local comic shop because they need you now more than ever, as their expenses tend to rise and rise and rise, and they have solid prices on the comic books, so they're not increasing them.
And I had to explain that to somebody the other day. They came in, they were like, "Oh, I only read online." I'm like, "Well, that hurts small businesses like us. Like that affects us. Like we lose customers like that." Like, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're a small business. We're lucky that we survived the pandemic. Like that's how it is for a lot of stores." And like his friend who brought him in, was like, "Yeah, without places like this, like I wouldn't have been able to get into this stuff. I wouldn't have been able to know the series that I love now without places like this." And I think I opened up a new person's mind to, businesses like this wouldn't exist without people like you. And I was like, without stores like this, I wouldn't be employed right now. I wouldn't have my apartment. I wouldn't be able to have gas in my car without places like this existing. I know, like, without stores like this, I wouldn't have a job, which is very interesting. So
it really is so simple to be able to support an LCS.
Exactly.
You don't have to go in and drop $100 in there to keep them functioning. It's just $5.
Yeah.
Go buy a book.
Yeah.
If enough people do that, we're fine.
Yeah.
You don't need all of your monies.
Yeah.
Just your love.
Exactly.
And if you don't have any dollars, you can always just share people's social media.
Yeah.
Talk about your favorite comic book store to somebody that seems like they might be interested. Share comics with a kid.
Yeah.
Get people into loving it.
Pass it on to the next generation.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. We love you so much. Thanks for being here with us. If you have a chance, do a like or a heart or ring the bell or subscribe. I need to have a symbol for subscribe. You can have most of our monies.
We just need the old school button, the old school pillows.
Oh, and all right, everybody. We'll see you guys next time right here, same place and channel. We do this every single week. Now, get out there and read your comics.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.